In Beijing, Master Han was running his own martial arts school, training the next generation of kung fu students. His most promising student was his nephew, Li, whose dedication and discipline set him apart from everyone else. One day, Li's mother, Dr. Fong, arrived to pick him up. She had never wanted him to learn kung fu because she had already lost her older son in a martial arts tournament. She refused to risk losing another child. Han tried to change her mind. He said, "You and I both know kung fu can give Li a better life. Every time I lost my way, kung fu helped me find it again. I believe one day Li will understand that too." But Dr. Fong replied, "We don't have time for that anymore. I've accepted a position at a major hospital in New York. We're moving there." Hidden nearby, Li overheard everything. He confronted his mother. "Why didn't you tell me? Our whole life is here in China. We can't just leave everything behind. I've already made my decision. I believe you'll have a better future in New York." Li didn't want to leave Beijing, but after losing both his father and older brother, he had no choice except to move to America with his mother. After settling into their new apartment, Li placed his late brother's photo on a shelf before heading to a nearby pizza shop. He asked the owner, Victor, for a stuffed crust pizza, but Victor jokingly teased him because they didn't serve it. Victor's daughter, Mia, quickly apologized and recommended something else, making Li feel welcome. The next day, Li started college. After class, he ran into Mia again, helped her carry some equipment, and the two quickly became friends. While walking through the neighborhood, Li stopped outside Demolition Gym, watching the fighters train inside. Mia asked, "Do you train in kung fu or karate?" Li replied, "I used to train in kung fu, but I quit." Mia warned him never to train at that gym. Just then, the gym's owner, O'Shea, walked over and threatened Mia, telling her to remind her father to answer his calls. As they left, Mia explained that her father owed O'Shea money and warned Li to stay away because he was extremely dangerous. Meanwhile, Mia's ex-boyfriend, Connor, was training inside the gym. After O'Shea mentioned seeing Mia with another guy, Connor became furious and took his anger out on his sparring partner. Later, Mia needed some machine parts, so she and Li visited a Chinese supply store. The price was too high, but Li spoke to the owner in Mandarin and managed to get a huge discount. Curious, Mia asked what he had said. Li laughed. "I told her you're my girlfriend. Relax, I was kidding. But if you show me around New York, I'll teach you Chinese." Mia agreed, and Li jokingly called it their first date. The next day, they explored New York together on a scooter and had a great time. But on the way home, the scooter broke down, forcing them to take the subway. That's when Connor showed up with his friends. The moment he saw Li standing next to Mia, he punched Li square in the face before walking away. As Mia helped Li up, she said, "Connor has been obsessed with me since we were kids. He trains nonstop at O'Shea's gym and wins the Five Boroughs tournament every single year." She looked at Li with concern. "You can't beat someone like him." Li asked Mia about the Five Boroughs tournament. She explained that it was one of the toughest underground martial arts tournaments in New York. The winner walked away with a huge cash prize, but she warned Li never to even think about entering it. Since the bruise on Li's face was still visible, Mia took him to her father. Victor covered it with makeup so Dr. Fong wouldn't notice. That night, Li fell asleep with a green tea bag on his eye, ruining the makeup. The next morning, Dr. Fong immediately noticed the injury. Afraid that Li was getting involved in fights again, she hired a private tutor named Alan, hoping that focusing on school would keep him away from martial arts. Later that night, while unpacking his belongings, Li found an old photo of his late brother, Bo, inside a book. The memory took him back to the day Bo was teaching him the dragon kick. Li kept falling over, but Bo smiled and said, "Don't worry, the day you truly need this kick, you'll be able to use it." A few days later, Connor confronted Li outside school. He challenged him to a fight, even claiming he wouldn't use his hands. Li accepted, but Connor easily dodged every attack and knocked him to the ground. Remembering his brother's words, Li tried using the dragon kick, but Connor countered with a brutal kick to the face and dropped him again. Before the fight could continue, teachers rushed over and broke it up. As he walked away, Connor shouted, "If you really want to fight me, meet me at the Five Boroughs tournament. No one will save you there." Disappointed, Li headed home. When he noticed Mia's broken scooter, he started repairing it. Just then, O'Shea's men showed up and knocked Victor unconscious over his unpaid debt. When Li stepped in, the three thugs attacked him. This time, he didn't hold back. Using his kung fu skills, Li defeated all three men and sent them running. After regaining consciousness, Victor had seen enough to know how skilled Li really was. He admitted that he owed dangerous people a lot of money and asked Li to train him in kung fu. Then he took Li into a room filled with old boxing posters. Surprised, Li asked, "If you were such a great boxer, why did you quit?" Victor smiled sadly. "After Mia was born, my priorities changed. Sometimes life forces you to make choices you never wanted to make." He explained that someone had offered him one last boxing match. If he won, the prize money would be enough to clear his debts and pay for Mia's college. Li wanted to help, but he had promised his mother that he would never fight again, so he refused and went home. Still unsure, he called Han and asked for advice. Han replied, "I've always taught you that if your knowledge can help someone, you should never keep it to yourself." Those words changed Lee's mind. The very next day, he agreed to train Victor. At first, Victor thought he could easily beat Lee, but Lee dropped him with a single punch, making it clear who the better fighter was. Training began immediately. When Mia found out that her father planned to return to boxing, she strongly objected, but Victor and Lee convinced her that it would only be for 1 or 2 fights, just enough to solve their financial problems. As the training continued, Victor steadily became stronger. One sleepless night, Lee couldn't stop thinking about his brother, so he went to the gym to practice alone. A little later, Victor walked in and noticed something was bothering him. Lee finally opened up. He revealed that his brother, Bo, had won a major kung fu tournament in Beijing. But on their way home, one of the defeated fighters came back looking for revenge with several men. As they fought back, one attacker held Bo down while another pulled out a knife. Bo screamed for help, but Lee was completely frozen with fear. He could only watch as his brother was stabbed to death right in front of him. After hearing the story, maybe you couldn't save your brother, but that doesn't mean you should spend the rest of your life blaming yourself. If you don't let go of that pain, it'll destroy you. After that conversation, Lee returned home. A little later, he attended the San Gennaro festival with his tutor, Alan. Alan teased him, saying, "I know you like Mia, so what's the plan for tonight?" Lee smiled and replied, "We're just friends. She only invited me to check out the festival." But when Lee spotted Mia laughing with Connor, his mood instantly changed. Seeing them together made him jealous, so he quietly left without saying a word. The next day was Victor's big boxing match. Before it started, Lee asked Mia, "You know Connor isn't right for you, so why were you with him last night?" Mia explained, "Sometimes people misunderstand things. Nothing happened between us. He wanted us to get back together, but I told him, I'm in love with someone else." Lee immediately realized she meant him. The two leaned in and shared their first kiss. Unfortunately, Victor walked in at the worst possible moment. Laughing, he said, "Seriously? Today's the biggest day of my life, and you two are busy falling in love?" Moments later, the fight began. At first, Victor took a brutal beating, but thanks to Lee's training, he slowly started taking control of the match. Lee and Mia couldn't hide their excitement, but O'Shea was furious because he had bet a fortune against Victor. He secretly signaled the other boxer to seriously injure him. Ignoring the rules, the boxer drove a vicious elbow into Victor's face. Lee and Mia protested, but before anyone could stop it, Victor was knocked unconscious by a devastating punch. The match was over, but Victor was left in critical condition. Seeing him lying there brought back the horrifying memory of Bo's death. Lee froze completely, just like he had years ago. At the hospital, Mia begged him to come inside, but he couldn't move. Disappointed, she went in alone. Since Dr. Fong worked at the same hospital, she soon learned what had happened. When Lee admitted that he had trained Victor, she said, "I warned you to stay away from fighting. Now look what's happened." With that, she walked away. Victor remained unconscious, and Mia stayed by his bedside. Lee blamed himself for everything. First, he had lost his brother because of martial arts, and now Victor was fighting for his life. Consumed by guilt, he tore down all the kung fu posters in his room and even stopped answering Han's calls. One night, when Lee returned home, he noticed his mother wasn't there. Suddenly, someone attacked him from the shadows. Lee instinctively defended himself, only to discover that the attacker was Han. He was completely shocked. A moment later, Dr. Fong arrived home and was just as surprised to see him there. The next day, they all visited Victor in the hospital. He had finally regained consciousness, but Mia quietly walked out the moment Lee entered the room. Feeling guilty, Lee apologized. "I'm sorry. This happened because of me, and now you've even lost your pizza shop." Victor shook his head. "None of this is your fault. I'll figure something out, even if it means starting over somewhere else." Han smiled and said, "There's an old Chinese saying, a friend's problem is my problem. We'll find a way to help you." After leaving the hospital, Lee asked, "But how are we supposed to help him?" Han handed him a flyer for the 5 Boroughs tournament. "The tournament starts in 10 days, and you're going to fight in it. Find us a place to train. I'll take care of the rest." With that, Han flew to Los Angeles and visited Daniel LaRusso. Standing before Mr. Miyagi's photo, he placed a bottle of sake in front of it as a sign of respect. Daniel quietly said, "It's hard to believe Mr. Miyagi passed away a year ago. Did you know him?" Han nodded. "Yes. The last time we met, he told me that if I ever needed help, I could come here. Today, I'm here because I need yours." Then he pulled out an old photograph of himself and Mr. Miyagi. "We took this picture together, right here in this house, back in 1985. The story then flashed back to 1986 on Okinawa, Japan. Daniel had once asked Mr. Miyagi about the origins of the Miyagi family. Using an old drawing, Mr. Miyagi explained, "This is Miyagi Shimpo, the first member of our family to bring martial arts to Okinawa." He went on to tell Daniel that the Miyagi family had originally been fishermen. One day, While fishing, Miyagi Shimpo drifted asleep on his boat. When he woke up, he had been carried all the way to the coast of China. There, the Han family took him in and taught him kung fu. When Shimpo finally returned to Okinawa, he combined what he had learned in China with his own traditions, creating what would later become Miyagi Karate. Mr. Miyagi smiled and said, "Think of it as one tree with two branches. That's why the Han and Miyagi families have always been connected. That lifelong bond was the reason Han had come to Daniel for help." Back in the present, Daniel said, "I'm honored that you came to me, but I can't just leave everything behind and move to New York. There are plenty of great karate teachers who can train Lee." Han replied, "I know that, but I don't want just anyone. I want you to teach him Miyagi Karate. Lee means to me what you once meant to Mr. Miyagi." Daniel still wasn't convinced. Smiling, Han simply said, "I know you won't let me down. I'll be waiting for you in New York." With that, he left. Meanwhile, Lee asked Alan if he knew a place where they could train. Alan offered his own backyard, and Lee happily accepted. Soon, Han arrived, and the training began. Just like he had done with Dre years earlier, Han used simple daily movements to sharpen Lee's muscle memory. A short time later, Daniel finally showed up. At first, he doubted Lee could learn Miyagi Karate in just a week, but after seeing Lee's talent and discipline, he quickly changed his mind and joined Han in training him. Meanwhile, Connor was pushing himself harder than ever at O'Shea's gym, preparing for the tournament. When Dr. Fong discovered that Lee planned to enter the Five Boroughs tournament, she tried to stop him. Han calmly explained, "This isn't just about fighting. It's about helping Lee overcome the trauma of losing his brother. Both of you need to heal." His words left Dr. Fong speechless. Later, Han asked Lee about Mia. Lee admitted they had argued and that she wasn't speaking to him anymore. Han smiled. "Sometimes you don't need the perfect words. You just need to show up and be honest." Taking his advice, Lee ordered a pizza from Mia's shop so she would deliver it herself. When Mia arrived, Alan encouraged her to give Lee another chance. She finally forgave him but said, "You don't have to risk your life for me or my dad." Lee shook his head. "I'm doing this for myself. If I win, all of us get a fresh start. Will you stand by me?" Mia smiled and promised she would. 3 days later, the Five Boroughs tournament finally began. Connor dominated every match and advanced to the finals. Lee fought his way to the semifinals, and after an incredibly tough match, he earned his place in the championship as well. Before the final could begin, some of Connor's teammates tried to ambush Lee, but Han and Daniel stepped in together and quickly took care of them, making sure they never tried anything like that again. With the finals still a week away, Daniel joined Han to help train Lee. Daniel explained, "I've heard Connor fights like a lion, and I've dealt with fighters like him before. The only way to beat him is to use his anger against him." He asked Lee to attack him, but every move Lee made was effortlessly countered. Han wasn't impressed with Daniel's approach, so he demonstrated his own kung fu techniques instead. Before long, the two masters were arguing over whether kung fu or karate was the better style, leaving Lee completely frustrated. He walked away and began training by himself. While practicing, Daniel noticed Lee working on a move he'd never seen before. "What's that technique?" "It's called the dragon kick. My brother taught it to me, but I can't use it against Connor. The last time I tried, he saw it coming and knocked me down." Instead of being discouraged, Daniel smiled. He took Lee and Han to a subway station and came up with a new strategy. "If Connor already knows the dragon kick, then we'll use that against him. Make him think you're using the same move again. The moment he tries to counter it, change your position and strike where he least expects it." To master the technique, Lee had to practice slipping under a low subway gate immediately after throwing the kick. At first, he kept hitting his head on the metal bar and crashing to the ground. No matter how many times he tried, he couldn't get it right. Finally, Daniel handed him one of Mr. Miyagi's headbands. He said, "Mr. Miyagi once told me that martial arts are like one tree with two branches. Today, the Han and Miyagi families are connected through you. That's why I came here, to help you carry on that legacy." Those words gave Lee a new sense of purpose. After days of relentless practice, he finally perfected the technique. The next day, the arena filled with spectators for the championship match. Even Dr. Fong showed up. Lee said, "I know you don't want me to fight, but I have to do this." His mother smiled. "I understand now, and this time, you won't face it alone. I'll be cheering for you." Hearing those words meant everything to Lee. He hugged his mother before Daniel and Han tied Mr. Miyagi's headband around his forehead. The championship match finally began. The referee explained that the first fighter to reach 8 points would win. Body strikes earned 1 point, while head strikes earned 2. Connor came out aggressively and quickly built a 4-point lead. From the sidelines, Daniel and Han reminded Lee to stay calm. Lee adjusted his strategy, landed a clean shot to Connor's head, then followed it with several body strikes until the score swung in his favor. Soon, Lee had 7 points, while Connor had 5. Desperate, Connor landed a brutal kick to Lee's head, sending him crashing to the mat. The referee began the count. As Lee lay there, flashes of his brother Bo and Victor filled his mind. Hearing everyone call his name, he forced himself back to his feet just before the count ended. Now, both fighters were tied at 7 points. Lee took a deep breath. He baited Connor with the familiar setup for the dragon kick. Thinking he had seen it before, Connor instantly went for the same counterattack. But this time, Lee ducked underneath exactly as he had practiced. Connor's kick missed completely. Lee exploded upward with his new dragon trap technique, knocking Connor to the ground and scoring the final point. The crowd erupted as Lee was crowned the champion, furious over his defeat. Connor tried to attack Lee after the match, but Lee saw it coming, defended himself, and knocked Connor down. He was about to throw one last punch when Han stopped him. Instead, Lee offered Connor a hand and helped him back to his feet. That single act of respect earned Connor's admiration. Using the tournament prize money, Lee paid off all of Victor's debts and even helped him open a brand new pizza shop. Later, he sent a pizza to Daniel in Los Angeles, along with a photo of the team and a heartfelt thank you for everything he had done. In the final scene, Daniel's friend Johnny jokingly suggested, "Why don't we open a Miyagi-Do pizza shop? We'd make a fortune." Daniel just rolled his eyes, ignored the idea, and headed off to warm up the pizza.